Emily Lawson lived in a world of big houses, expensive cars, and private jets. Her father, Mr. Lawson, was one of the richest men in America. People knew him everywhere. But even though they had everything money could buy, Emily didn't feel happy. She didn't like the fancy parties, the bodyguards following her, or the way people treated her differently because of her father's money. Everyone called her the billionaire's daughter, but no one ever called her by her name. She wanted to know what life was like for normal people, the kind who took the bus, packed their own lunch, and made friends without caring about who your father was. One night at dinner, Emily looked at her dad and said, "Dad, I want to go to a public school." Her father dropped his fork. "A what?" "A normal school. No bodyguards, no driver. No one needs to know who I am. I want to make real friends." Mr. Lawson sighed. "Emily, that's not a good idea. The press, the people. Please, Dad, just let me be normal for once." He looked at her for a long moment and finally nodded. "All right. But you must promise to stay safe. You'll go by a different name. No one must know you're my daughter." She smiled for the first time in a long time. "Thank you, Dad." That night, she packed her school bag herself. Plain notebooks, no designer logos. The next morning, she left in a small, old car instead of the big family limousine. From that moment, she stopped being Emily Lawson, the billionaire's daughter, and became Emily Lane, the ordinary girl. At Hillcrest High School, word had already spread like wildfire. The principal had accidentally mentioned that a billionaire's daughter would soon transfer to their school. The whole town couldn't stop talking about it. "She's coming in a limo. I heard she has her own credit card. I bet she's rude." Everyone was waiting to see who she would be. 2 weeks passed. No one came. Then one Monday morning, a quiet girl walked into school. She wore a plain blue hoodie, simple jeans, and white sneakers. Her hair was tied neatly. She looked humble, calm, and shy. The students looked at her and whispered, "Is that her? No way. She looks too ordinary. She's probably just another transfer student." No one paid her much attention. Emily went to the office, got her schedule, and walked quietly to her new classroom. She smiled softly at people who greeted her. She wasn't nervous. She was happy to finally feel normal. Her teacher introduced her to the class. "Everyone, this is Emily Lane. She's new. Please make her feel welcome." She sat at the back, next to a boy named Ethan Parker, a tall, quiet student who loved books, computers, and building robots. He smiled at her kindly. "Hey," he said. "I'm Ethan." "Hi," she said shyly. He noticed how polite she was, how she listened carefully when the teacher spoke, and how she didn't seem to care about being noticed. But little did anyone know, she was the very person everyone had been gossiping about, the billionaire's daughter in disguise. Among the students at Hillcrest was a girl named Jessica Miller. She was beautiful, confident, and rich enough to think she ruled the school. Her father owned a few stores in town, and she loved being the center of attention. When she heard about the billionaire's daughter who never showed up, she smirked. "She's not coming," she said to her friends, Chloe and Mia. Chloe asked, "So what are you going to do?" Jessica smiled. "I'll be her." The next day, Jessica walked into school with designer clothes, a diamond necklace, and a smug look. "Everyone," she said loudly in the hallway. "I didn't want to say anything before, but I'm the billionaire's daughter. My dad doesn't want me to talk about it, but yes, I'm the one." Everyone gasped. "No way. Jessica. It makes sense. Look at her clothes." From that day on, Jessica became the princess of Hillcrest High. Teachers treated her differently. Students tried to be her friend. Even the principal smiled more when she walked past. Emily stayed quiet. She didn't care. She just wanted to study and enjoy life like everyone else. But Jessica didn't like Emily. She thought the new girl was too quiet, too simple, and somehow threatening. Especially because Ethan, the smartest and most handsome boy in class, started spending time with Emily. Over the next few weeks, Ethan and Emily became close friends. They studied together after school, worked on science projects, and shared snacks at lunch. Emily was kind, thoughtful, and always smiling. One day, Ethan asked, "You never talk about your family. Don't you miss them?" She looked down. "I do. But sometimes, people treat you differently when they know who your parents are. I just want to be liked for me." He nodded slowly. "That makes sense. I like you for who you are, not for what you have." They smiled at each other. Jessica saw this from across the cafeteria. Her face turned red with anger. She slammed her tray down. "She's stealing him from me." Her friends tried to calm her down, but she already had a plan. The next day, she accidentally spilled orange juice all over Emily's homework. "Oh, I'm so sorry," she said in a fake sweet voice. "You should be more careful next time." Ethan saw what happened and helped Emily clean up. "Don't let her get to you," he said softly. Emily nodded. "I won't." But deep down, she was hurt. A few weeks later, Jessica threw a huge birthday party. It was the talk of the entire school. Everyone wanted to go. There were invitations printed on shiny gold cards, food from the best restaurant in town, and even a DJ from the city. But one person wasn't invited: Emily. Jessica made sure of it. When someone asked, "Aren't you inviting Emily?" Jessica laughed and said, "Why would I? She wouldn't fit in. It's not her kind of party." Everyone laughed along, even though some people didn't think it was funny. That night, cars lined up outside Jessica's house. The lights were bright, and music blasted through the street. Everyone was taking selfies, posting pictures, and tagging Jessica with captions like #BestPartyEver and #RichGirlVibes. But Ethan didn't go. When his friends asked why, he said, "I've got a project to finish." Nobody knew that the project meant spending the evening with Emily in the school library. The two of them sat at a table surrounded by books and wires, working on their science robot. It was supposed to follow light, but it kept spinning in circles. Emily laughed. "Your robot has no sense of direction." Ethan grinned. "Just like me sometimes." They both laughed again, and for the first time in a long while, Emily felt happy, truly happy. They took a photo together for fun. Ethan uploaded it later with the caption, "Late night genius work." They had no idea how much trouble that picture would cause. The next morning, Jessica woke up and grabbed her phone. Her notifications were full of birthday messages and photos from the party. But one photo stood out: Ethan's. Ethan and Emily. Together. Laughing. Smiling. Having fun. Jessica's face changed. "What is this?" She zoomed in on the picture, her stomach twisting. Then she threw her phone on the bed and stormed out of the room. By lunch that day, the rumors started. "Did you hear Emily cheated on the last test?" "Yeah, I heard she's always hanging around teachers after class. She's pretending to be poor for attention. I bet she's just acting." The whispers spread like wildfire. Every hallway, every classroom. When Emily walked past, people stopped talking and stared. Some laughed quietly. Some looked away. Others pretended to drop things just so they wouldn't have to meet her eyes. Ethan heard the rumors and got angry. "None of that is true," he said to one group. "Emily worked hard on that test, harder than anyone here." but they just shrugged. Sure, Ethan, you're just defending her because you like her. That made him even angrier. By the end of the day, Emily couldn't take it anymore. She sat alone on the school bench, her eyes red from crying. When Ethan came looking for her, she quickly wiped her tears. "Hey," he said softly. "You okay?" She nodded, forcing a smile. "Yeah, just tired." But her voice cracked a little, and Ethan knew she wasn't okay. He sat beside her, silent for a moment. "People believe whatever they want. Don't let them get to you." She looked down. "It's just, I didn't do anything wrong. Why do they hate me so much?" "Because they don't know you," Ethan said quietly. "But I do." Her eyes met his, and for a second, the world around them went still. That night, when Emily got home, she called her dad. Her voice trembled as she spoke. "Dad, maybe this was a bad idea. Maybe I shouldn't have come here." He was quiet for a moment, then said gently, "Emily, the world can be cruel sometimes. But kindness always wins in the end. Don't give up." She sniffled. "It's hard." "I know," he said softly. "That you're stronger than you think. Just keep being you." After the call, she sat by her window, watching the city lights. She saw the photos of Jessica's party on her phone. All the smiles, the dresses, the laughter. And for a moment, she wondered if she really belonged there. But then she looked at her science project on the desk, the little robot that she and Ethan built, and smiled faintly. Maybe she didn't have to fit in. Maybe she just had to keep being herself. The next morning, Emily woke up tired but determined. She looked at herself in the mirror and said quietly, "No more crying. I didn't come this far to give up." She packed her bag, grabbed a sandwich, and left early for school. She wanted to get there before anyone else. When she reached the science lab, it was empty and quiet. She took out her robot, the one she and Ethan had been working on, and started fixing it. The wires had been loose the night before. She turned it on. It moved forward this time, following the light just like it was supposed to. Emily smiled to herself. "Finally," she whispered. Later that morning in class, Jessica walked in wearing new designer clothes and acting like she owned the place. Everyone greeted her loudly. When Emily walked in a few minutes later, the noise faded. People stared. A few giggled. One girl whispered, "There she is, the cheater." Emily ignored them this time. She walked straight to her seat, opened her notebook and focused. During lunch, she sat alone under a tree behind the school. A girl named Lena, who was quiet and always reading, walked up to her. "Hey, can I sit here?" she asked softly. Emily nodded. "Sure." Lena sat down with her lunchbox. "I saw what happened. Those rumors, they're not true, right?" Emily shook her head. "No, but it doesn't matter. People believe what they want." Lena frowned. "It does matter. I don't believe it." That was the first time in weeks someone had said something kind to her. Emily smiled a little. "Thanks, Lena." From that day, they started sitting together during lunch. Meanwhile, Ethan was getting frustrated. He had stopped hanging out with Jessica and her friends. Every time they talked about Emily, he walked away. "Why are you defending her?" one of his friends asked. Ethan replied, "Because she deserves it. She's not like the others." Jessica noticed this change. She hated it. She had been trying to get Ethan's attention for months, and now he barely looked her way. So, she made a plan. The school was organizing a science fair where each team would present their project. The winners would represent the school in the regional competition. Jessica overheard Ethan and Emily talking about entering their robot. She smirked. "Let's see how long that lasts." she whispered to herself. That week, Emily stayed late every day to work on the robot. Ethan helped whenever he could. They shared snacks, talked about dreams, and laughed about silly things. Emily told him, "When I was little, I wanted to build things that help people. My dad used to say that small ideas can change the world." Ethan nodded. "That's what I like about you. You believe in doing good, not just looking good." She smiled shyly. The night before the fair, Emily left the robot in the science lab. When she came back the next morning, it was gone. Her heart dropped. The table was empty. The project they had worked on for weeks had vanished. She ran around asking everyone, but no one knew anything. Then she heard laughter near the lockers. Jessica and her friends were standing there, holding something shiny. It was the robot, but broken. Jessica smirked. "Oops. I think we found this near the trash can." Emily's eyes widened. You broke it." Jessica shrugged. "Maybe it broke itself. You know how cheap things fall apart." Ethan walked in just then and saw what happened. "Jessica, that's enough," he shouted. She pretended to look shocked. "Wow, defending her again. What is she, your girlfriend?" Everyone around gasped. Ethan said, "No, but she's a better person than you'll ever be." Jessica's face turned red. "You'll regret this." She stormed off, angry and embarrassed. Emily wanted to cry, but she didn't. Instead, she picked up the broken robot pieces and said quietly, "We'll fix it." Ethan helped her gather everything, "Even if we have to build it all night." And they did. They stayed in the lab until midnight, fixing wires, gluing parts, and running tests. They were tired, but they didn't stop. By the next morning, the robot worked again. Not perfectly, but enough to show what they had created. At the science fair, Jessica tried to act confident. She had entered her own project, a simple model she had copied from the internet. When it was Emily and Ethan's turn, the room went quiet. Everyone watched as their small, patched-up robot followed a light across the table, avoiding obstacles and stopping at the finish line. The judges clapped. One said, "Impressive teamwork." Another smiled. "I can tell this took hard work." Jessica's fake smile disappeared. When the winners were announced, Emily and Ethan came first. Everyone cheered, even some of the students who had believed the rumors. Ethan whispered, "Told you we'd make it." Emily laughed. "Yeah, we did." Later that day, Lena ran up to her. "You did it, Emily. You proved them wrong." Emily smiled. "I didn't do it to prove them wrong. I just didn't want to quit." That night, as she walked home, Emily looked up at the stars and whispered, "Thanks, Dad. You were right." But little did she know, her secret wouldn't stay hidden for much longer. After the science fair, things started to change for Emily. When she walked through the hallways, people didn't whisper as much anymore. Some even smiled at her. A few students who once ignored her now said, "Hi." It wasn't everyone, but it was a start. Emily felt lighter. She could breathe again. Even some teachers started to notice her more. "Good work at the fair, Emily," said Mrs. Parker, the science teacher. "You showed real dedication." Emily smiled shyly. "Thank you, ma'am." Meanwhile, Jessica was furious. She had lost the science fair, lost attention from her friends, and worst of all, Ethan had stopped talking to her completely. At home, she threw her bag on the bed and yelled, "How could they like her? She's nothing special." Her mother peeked in from the door. "Jessica, calm down. It's just a school competition." "Just?" Jessica snapped. "No one ignores me, Mom. No one." Her mom sighed. "Then maybe you should focus on your studies, not your pride." Jessica rolled her eyes. "You don't understand. That night, Jessica scrolled through social media. She saw more posts about Emily and Ethan. They were smiling, holding their medal from the science fair. Her anger grew stronger. Then she smirked. Fine. If people won't see the truth, I'll make them. The next week, Jessica started acting nice to everyone again. Especially to Emily. She smiled in class, complimented her hair, and even sat next to her during lunch. At first, Emily was confused. Hi, Jessica. Jessica smiled sweetly. Hey, Emily. We got off on the wrong foot. I just wanted to say congratulations. Oh, thanks. That Ethan didn't trust her. He whispered later. Be careful. Jessica doesn't change that fast. Emily nodded. I know, but I'll stay polite. For a few days, things seemed calm. Jessica even joined their group during a class project. But behind the scenes, she was plotting again. One afternoon, during gym class, everyone was told to change into their uniforms. Emily went to the locker room and left her backpack on the bench. When she came back, her notebook was open, and some papers were gone. She frowned. Weird. The next day, Jessica went to the teacher's office with a fake worried look. Ma'am, she said, holding some of Emily's pages. I found these in the trash, and it looks like answers to last week's math test. The teacher frowned. Are you sure? Jessica nodded. I just thought I should bring it to you. Emily was shocked. But we didn't do anything wrong. I'm sorry, Mr. Collins said. We'll sort it out soon. When she told Ethan, he was furious. Jessica did this, I know it. But we can't prove it, Emily said quietly. If I fight, I'll look guilty. Ethan clenched his fists. We'll find a way. The rumors spread again. This time worse. She cheated again. I knew the science fair win wasn't real. She just acts sweet for attention. Emily tried to stay calm, but inside, it hurt deeply. Lena stayed by her side. Don't listen to them. You'll clear your name. I hope so, Emily whispered. That evening, Ethan stayed late in the library again. He couldn't stop thinking. Then he remembered the security camera in the hallway near the lockers. He ran to Mr. Collins the next morning. Sir, can we check the school cameras from gym day? Please. Mr. Collins hesitated, then agreed. When they watched the footage, they saw it. Jessica sneaking into the locker room when everyone was outside. She opened Emily's bag, took the papers, and walked out. When Emily heard the news, she didn't celebrate. She just sat quietly, relieved that the truth finally came out. Ethan smiled. See? Justice always wins, Emily nodded softly. I just wish it didn't have to hurt so much first. That week, things slowly went back to normal. Students began to respect Emily again. Teachers praised her honesty. But one thing had changed. Ethan and Emily had grown closer than ever. They spent hours talking after school about life, dreams, and what they wanted to be when they grew up. Ethan said, I want to build things that make people's lives easier, like machines that can help in real ways. Emily smiled. You and I aren't so different then. He looked at her, smiling softly. Yeah, maybe not at all. For the first time in a long while, Emily laughed without fear. But deep down, she knew the peace wouldn't last forever, because her real world, the one she was hiding, would soon come knocking. Days passed and school life seemed calm again. Emily, Ethan, and Lena were now closer than ever. They studied together, laughed more, and even helped other students with homework. It felt like things were finally getting better. But Emily still carried a secret, one she couldn't share. Every time her phone buzzed with a message from her dad's assistant, she made sure no one was looking. She always replied quietly, deleting the chats right after. Ethan once asked, "Who do you text so early every morning?" Emily smiled quickly. "Oh, just my aunt." It wasn't true, but it was safer that way. One Monday morning, something unusual happened. A long black car stopped in front of the school gates. It was shiny and new, and two men in suits stepped out. They talked quietly to the principal and handed him an envelope. Everyone stared. "Who are they?" whispered one student. "They look rich," said another. Emily froze. She recognized the men. They worked for her father. Her heart started to race. Why are they here? She thought. She quickly turned away and hid in the hallway. Later that day, Mr. Collins called her to his office. "Emily," he said kindly, "a man came by this morning asking about you." Emily's stomach tightened. "About me?" "Yes," he said. "He said he works for your family. He wanted to make sure you're doing fine." Emily forced a small smile. "Oh, yeah, he's just a family friend." Mr. Collins nodded. He seemed concerned. "You must come from a very caring family." She nodded again, but inside she felt nervous. She couldn't let anyone know who she really was, not yet. If people found out she was the billionaire's daughter, everything would change again. That afternoon, Jessica came back to school after her suspension. Everyone was talking about her. Some ignored her. Others whispered. But Jessica didn't care about the whispers. She was angry, and she wanted revenge. When she saw the fancy car parked outside the school earlier, she got curious. Now she watched Emily from a distance. "Something's off about her," she muttered. "Nobody that quiet stays that mysterious." Meanwhile, Ethan and Emily's friendship was growing stronger. They sat together in the school garden almost every day after classes. Sometimes didn't even talk. They just enjoyed the quiet. One afternoon, Ethan looked at her and said, "You know, you're different from everyone else." Emily laughed softly. "Different? How?" "You don't care about showing off. You just care about doing the right thing." Emily smiled. "Well, maybe it's better to be real than to be perfect." Ethan nodded. "You sound like someone who's seen both sides of life." She paused for a moment. "Maybe I have." He looked at her curiously but didn't push further. That same week, the school announced a charity event. Students were asked to donate clothes, food, or money to help a local orphanage. Everyone was excited, especially Emily. She had always loved helping people, but she couldn't give too much or it would raise suspicion. So, she quietly went to the store, bought some nice items and donated them without writing her name. The next morning, the principal made an announcement. "We received an anonymous donation of $10,000 for the orphanage." The whole school gasped. 10,000? Who would give that much? Jessica smirked. Probably someone trying to show off. But Lena whispered to Emily, "Was that you?" Emily shook her head quickly. "No, of course not." But inside, she knew her dad's assistant had dropped it off for her, just like she had secretly asked. Later that day, the school posted a thank you message on their social media. It read, "Special thanks to our mystery donor for their kindness and generosity." That night, Emily got a call from her dad. "I heard your school is doing a good thing," he said warmly. "I'm proud of you." Emily smiled softly. "Thanks, Dad. But I'm still trying to stay invisible." Her father chuckled. "You can't hide your heart, Emily. It always shines." She laughed. "Please, Dad, not too loud. Someone might hear through the phone." The next morning, the talk at school grew louder. Everyone was curious about the mystery donor. Jessica couldn't stand it. She began asking around, following small hints. And one day, she saw Emily talking to a man in a black suit outside the gate. her father's driver dropping off her lunch quietly. Jessica's eyes narrowed. She took a picture with her phone. That evening, Jessica posted the photo on her private group chat with the caption, "Guess who's been pretending to be poor?" The photo showed Emily beside the black car, her lunch bag in hand. It spread among students within hours. The next day, when Emily walked into school, everyone stared again. Some whispered. Some took pictures secretly. Ethan ran up to her. "Emily, what's going on?" She looked confused. "What do you mean?" He showed her the post. Her hands shook as she read the words. Her heart sank. "Oh no." Ethan looked at her. "Is it true? Are you hiding something?" Emily didn't answer. She just looked down, tears forming in her eyes. "I can explain," she whispered. The rumors spread through the school like wildfire. By lunchtime, everyone was talking about Emily. "She's rich." "No way. She doesn't even wear designer clothes." "I saw the picture." "That car looked expensive." Emily felt like she was drowning in whispers. Every hallway she walked through seemed louder than before. Eyes followed her. Voices trailed her. Laughter echoed behind her. Lena tried to stand by her. "Ignore them, Emily. People just love gossip." But Emily could barely eat, barely smile. Her phone buzzed every few minutes. Messages, tags, screenshots. That night, she sat on her bed, staring at the ceiling. She whispered to herself, "I just wanted a normal life. Why can't they let me have that?" The next day, Mr. Collins called her again to his office. He looked serious this time. "Emily, I need to ask you something important," he said. He turned his laptop around. The picture of her beside the black car filled the screen. "Is this true? Are these people connected to you?" Emily's throat went dry. "They're just family friends," Mr. Collins sighed. "Emily, I'm not angry. I just need honesty. The rumors are getting out of hand." Tears filled her eyes. "Please, sir, I didn't lie to anyone. I just wanted to be treated like everyone else." He nodded slowly. "I understand. But you might not be able to hide much longer." Meanwhile, Jessica enjoyed every minute of the chaos. She loved the attention. Her followers on social media doubled overnight. She posted cryptic captions like, "Funny how people pretend to be poor just to look humble." Lena confronted her in the hallway. "You started this, didn't you?" Jessica smiled. "Prove it." "Why do you hate her so much?" Lena asked. "She's fake. I'm just showing the truth." Ethan didn't know what to believe anymore. He liked Emily. He trusted her. But seeing that photo made him question everything. That evening he texted her, "Emily, can we talk? Please don't shut me out." They met at the small park near school. It was quiet, just the sound of crickets and the cool wind. Ethan looked at her. "Why didn't you tell me?" Emily's eyes glistened. "Because I wanted to know who cared about me, not my name or money." He stared for a moment. "So it's true." She hesitated. "Let's just say, I'm not who everyone thinks I am." Ethan looked down. "You could have trusted me." She wiped a tear. "I wanted to, Ethan, I really did. But I've seen what happens when people find out." He didn't respond. He just nodded slowly, hurt written all over his face. The next morning, the whispers grew louder. Someone had edited the photo and added cruel captions. "Rich girl pretending to be poor. Liar. Fake." Emily tried to hold herself together, but inside she was breaking. When she got home, her father's assistant was waiting outside. He said quietly, "Your father wants you to come home. Things are getting too messy." Emily shook her head. "No, I started this journey and I'll finish it. That night, she looked at her reflection in the mirror. Her eyes were tired, but determined. She whispered, "If they want the truth, they'll get it. But on my terms." The next day, the school announced a special assembly. The principal said, "We've had too many rumors and hurtful gossip lately. It's time we cleared things up." Students filled the hall. Jessica smirked from her seat, confident that Emily would be embarrassed. Ethan sat quietly, not sure what to expect. Lena held Emily's hand tightly. Mr. Collins called her to the stage. "Emily, would you like to say something?" The room went silent. Emily stepped up, her heart pounding. She looked at the sea of faces. Some curious, some cruel, some kind. "I never meant to lie to anyone," she began. "I came here because I wanted a normal life. I wanted friends who saw me, not where I came from. But I guess some secrets can't stay hidden forever." The crowd murmured. Jessica folded her arms, smirking. "Here it comes," she whispered to her friend. Emily took a deep breath. "Yes, the men in that photo work for my family. But that doesn't change who I am. It doesn't mean I'm better than anyone else. I just wanted to belong." Her voice trembled slightly, but she stood tall. Some students looked ashamed. Others just stared. Then she said quietly, "Maybe one day you'll understand why I chose to live this way. Until then, believe what you want. I know the truth." And with that, she walked off the stage, leaving the hall completely silent. That afternoon, Ethan found her sitting by the old fountain behind the gym. He sat beside her and said softly, "That was brave." She smiled faintly. "It was scary." He nodded. "Still brave." They sat there for a while without saying much. Something had changed. The air around them felt heavier, but also honest. That evening, at home, Emily got a message from her father. It read, "You handled it well. But you can't hide forever, my dear. The world will soon know who you are." She stared at the message for a long time, her heart thumping. The secret she had tried to bury was about to come out. Completely. It started like any other Monday morning. Students dragged their feet to class, still half asleep. The hallways buzzed with laughter, whispers, and the usual drama. But something was different. People kept glancing at their phones, whispering louder than usual. Emily noticed it the moment she walked through the school gates. Eyes followed her, but this time, not with anger or judgment. It was confusion. Lena ran up to her, phone in hand, breathing hard. "Emily, you need to see this." Emily frowned. "What is it?" Lena showed her the screen. There, on every major news site, was the headline. "Greater than Emily Hargrove, daughter of tech billionaire Edward Hargrove, discovered studying at Plainview High." Under it was a photo of her and her father at a charity event from years ago. The article explained how Mr. Hargrove had allowed his daughter to attend a normal school to learn humility and real-world values. Emily froze. Her stomach turned. She whispered, "No, this can't be happening." Within minutes, the whole school knew. But instead of laughing or mocking her, people just stood around, whispering in disbelief. Greater than, wait, that Emily? She's the billionaire's daughter? No way. She wore the same sneakers for 2 years. She can't be. She's too normal. Even Jessica, standing at her locker with her usual smug face, looked shaken. Her hands trembled as she scrolled through the comments online. In the cafeteria, a small crowd gathered around Emily. Some kids who used to ignore her now smiled awkwardly. "Hey, Emily, I didn't know you were." She cut them off softly. "Please, I don't want to talk about it." Her heart pounded. This wasn't how she wanted the truth to come out. She wanted people to know her, not her name or her father's money. When Ethan heard the news, he froze too. He was sitting in the science lab when a classmate shouted, "Yo, Ethan! Your robot partner's a billionaire's kid." Ethan blinked. "What did you just say?" The boy turned his phone toward him, and Ethan saw it. Emily's picture with her father, smiling in front of a big tech company logo. Ethan just stared. His hands shook. He whispered, "Emily." Memories flashed in his mind. How she laughed at his silly jokes. How she wore second-hand clothes. How she worked late in the library. How she cried when people bullied her. None of it made sense. He stood up quickly and ran out of class. He found Emily behind the gym, sitting alone on the steps, hugging her knees. "Why didn't you tell me?" he asked quietly. She looked up, her eyes red. "Because I wanted someone to like me for who I am, not for what I have." Ethan sat down beside her. "You didn't have to hide it from me." "I did," she said softly. "Everywhere I go, people treat me differently once they know who my dad is. They stop seeing me." He stayed silent for a moment. Then he sighed. "I don't know what to say, it's just a lot." Emily nodded slowly. "I understand." They sat in silence for a while, both lost in thought. By afternoon, something strange began to happen. The same students who once mocked her now avoided eye contact, not out of hate, but guilt. Some whispered apologies. Some even deleted their old social media posts about her. Jessica tried to act like she didn't care, but deep down, she was terrified. Her friends had stopped laughing with her. They looked at her differently, like she was the villain of a story she didn't control anymore. At home, her mother scolded her after reading the news. "Jessica, do you realize what you've done? You bullied that man's daughter. Edward Hargrove supports the school." Jessica's face went pale. "Wait, he does?" The next day, the principal called a meeting. He stood before the entire school in the auditorium. "Students," he said seriously, "you've learned an important lesson about respect. What happened to Miss Emily Hargrove was wrong. Whether she was rich or poor, she deserved kindness." Everyone was quiet. Even Jessica couldn't meet anyone's eyes. Later that week, Emily walked through the halls again. This time, no one laughed. Some smiled politely. Some waved. But most just watched her in quiet awe, unsure how to act. She didn't feel happy or proud. She just felt tired, tired of pretending, tired of being misunderstood. Ethan met her by her locker. He handed her a small notebook. "What's this?" she asked. He smiled gently. "Notes for our next science project." "You're still my partner, right?" For the first time in days, Emily smiled. A real smile. "Always," she said softly. That night, she sat by her window, staring at the stars. She thought about how fast everything had changed, how the truth had flipped her world upside down. She didn't want fame. She didn't want special treatment. All she wanted was to be seen, really seen, for the girl she was inside. And now, maybe, people would finally start to see her that way.